Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a truly fascinating story. It's about a 32-year-old night guard who completely rewrote his destiny in just 90 days. We're going to follow a guy named Thomas, who basically started with absolutely nothing, no money, no real prospects, just completely stuck, until he stumbled upon a highly structured approach to his mornings that literally altered the entire course of his life. Now, before we really get into the nitty-gritty, I want you to stop and ask yourself something. Could you alter the entire trajectory of your life by simply changing what you do with just 2 hours of your day? I mean, it sounds almost too simple, right? But as we break down the source material today, you're going to see exactly how these 2 specific hours act as this mathematical lever, one that can shift someone from bare-bones survival to incredible success. So let's start with section 1, the trap of survival. To really grasp this whole transformation, we've got to look at Thomas's starting line. And man, it was a rough one. He was working as a security guard at a massive warehouse, clocking in at 8 p.m. and just dragging himself home at 6 a.m. He'd go back to this tiny, run-down, one-room apartment with a broken fan, literally sleeping on a mattress on the floor. It is a crushing contrast, you know? Thomas was basically living backwards, totally trapped in survival mode, while outside his window, families were eating breakfast and heading off to build their dreams. The thing is, Thomas wasn't lazy, not at all. He was walking 4 miles every single night on his patrol. He was diligent, but despite putting in all that physical effort and doing his job flawlessly, Thomas had this painful realization. Hard work in a dead-end direction just isn't going to get you anywhere. He desperately wanted to learn new skills, but after working all night, he was just way too exhausted to do anything but pass out.
Which brings us to section 2, the turning point.
So, what actually pushed him to change? It was this frantic, absolutely heartbreaking phone call. His mother had collapsed. After taking a 3-hour bus ride, he found her in a local village clinic. She had fainted from severe exhaustion because they couldn't even afford decent food. And her plea to him was gut-wrenching. She said, "Please, my son, do not waste your life like I wasted mine. Find a way, promise me." That right there was his emotional anchor. Standing outside that clinic in the freezing 5 a.m. dawn, he wasn't just sad. He was completely consumed by a refusal to stay helpless. He vowed right then and there to find a way out. Then, on the bus ride back to town, fate kind of steps in. Thomas ends up sitting near Mr. Chun, who's this very wealthy local shop owner. But here's the crazy part. It's 6 a.m. and this highly successful guy is riding a regular bumpy bus, just calmly reading a book. When Thomas finally works up the nerve to ask him why, Mr. Chun drops a bombshell. He wakes up at 4:30 every single morning. He uses that early, quiet time to read, think, and plan out his day. He's literally building his empire while the rest of the world is snoring.
All right, section 3, the 2-hour foundation.
So how exactly does a guy working the night shift completely change his life? When Thomas asked Mr. Chun this exact question, the mentor just gave him one massive number: 730. This number is the key. It represents the hidden wealth of time that Mr. Chun unlocked for Thomas. Let's break down the math here, because it's actually pretty mind-blowing. If you harvest just 2 extra hours a morning, that yields 14 hours a week, 60 hours a month, and 730 hours a year. Mr. Chun explained to Thomas that 730 hours is the equivalent of about 91 full 8-hour workdays. By simply taking those 2 hours back, you are effectively granting yourself a 13th, 14th, and 15th month to your year, months that everyone else is just sleeping right through.
Mr. Chun uses this really great analogy here. He explains that Thomas's life house was dark, cold, and literally falling apart, simply because he was too busy trying to survive to actually pour a proper foundation. He told him that this foundation-building time has to be strictly between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. That is the time you use to build your future, before the distractions of the day even start. Okay, so what are we actually doing during this time? Mr. Chun broke it down into a super actionable 2-hour daily routine that is focused entirely on growth. Hour 1, that's strictly for building skills. Use free resources like YouTube to learn something that will directly change your financial situation. Hour 2 is for the body and mind. You exercise for 30 minutes, because hey, your body is your vehicle in this life, and then you read and map out your day. But let's be real, knowing what to do is only half the battle, right? You need discipline. That's why Mr. Chun gave Thomas 3 absolute non-negotiable rules. First, 0 negotiation. You wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. Yep, even on weekends. Second, you must be asleep by 9 p.m. You cannot cheat sleep. Your brain needs to recover. And third, brace yourself, because the first week is going to be pure physical pain. Your body will totally rebel. But if you can push through, after 21 days, it becomes normal. And after 90 days, it just becomes who you are. Moving on to Section 4, the 90-day transformation.
Let's track this journey because it is grueling at first. Day 1 was pure agony. Thomas dragged himself awake in the pitch dark, eyes burning, forcing himself to watch free Excel tutorials. But check this out. By day 20, his body had actually adapted. He was waking up at 4:58 a.m. naturally, and the tutorials were finally clicking. By month 2, he'd knocked out 3 online courses, dropped some weight, and walked with this totally newfound confidence. And then, the payoff. On day 87, he used those self-taught accounting skills to build an inventory spreadsheet for the warehouse. He showed his boss, and it was so good, they offered him a daytime office job on the spot, literally doubling his salary. Just think about where he was a year later. This 2-hour daily foundation completely shattered her cycle of poverty. He went from a hopeless night guard, barely surviving in a busted apartment, to the company's lead accountant. And the best part? He saved enough money to move his mother to town, get her the medical care she needed, and rent them a really nice 2-bedroom place.
And that leads us into our final part, Section 5, winning your own morning. So let's talk about you, because this exact same framework is sitting right there for the taking. Now, you might be wondering, why 5 a.m. specifically? Well, it's simple. The world is totally quiet. No notifications buzzing on your phone, no emails, no sudden meetings, nothing. Your willpower is at its absolute peak and your mind is completely fresh. There's a reason CEOs and top athletes leverage this specific window. They know that if you win the morning, you fundamentally win the entire day. Here is the challenge Mr. Chun gave Thomas, and now I'm passing it to you. It's trying to stop hitting snooze on your own life. Step 1, set your alarm for exactly 5 a.m. and put your phone completely across the room so you physically have to stand up to turn it off. Step 2, pick just one thing, a skill, a certificate, maybe a language, and commit to building it for the next 90 days. And step 3, protect that 9 p.m. bedtime fiercely. Cut out the late night Netflix and the doom scrolling. Remember, sleep isn't the enemy. Wasted evenings are. You know, even after getting that huge promotion, Thomas never stopped this routine. When his coworkers asked him, "Hey, you made it. Why are you still waking up so early?" he gave them this brilliant response. Success is not a destination. It is a daily practice. He kept waking up at 5 a.m. not because he had to anymore, but because those 2 hours were absolutely sacred for his lifelong growth. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The difference between where you are right now and where you want to be, it isn't always about natural talent or getting lucky. Usually it's about what you're doing while the rest of the world is sleeping. Your future self is waiting right on the other side of that alarm clock. So what are you going to choose to build tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.?